In this recording, we're going to explain how to create a backup as PDFs of all the forms created with performance forms, performance templates from a long time ago. In some cases, we've had customers come to us and say, our configurations has changed so much over the last 15 years that we've been using SuccessFactors, and these forms were used before, there were merger and acquisitions in our company, and we constantly have to clean, filter data out when we create reports to make sure that people that have been with us for 15 years, we don't see these old ratings or all data that we don't want to see anymore. So today, in this demo environment, I've prepared a demo where we're going to use a feature called Archive and Print from SuccessFactors to mass generate PDF for all the forms created with this 2012 performance review template. And we're going to load these PDFs into an MDF object so that we can keep a copy of these forms in case of, for legal reasons. And then at the end of the process, we're going to purge these legacy forms so that they get completely removed from the system, including in reports. Unfortunately, when you just delete a form, it still shows the data if the person is still in the system, unless you filter out specific data, especially if the performance form was communicating to, for example, the ratings to the profile of the employee and those standard background elements that stays in the profile of the employee. So if you create an ad hoc report of type employee domain, employee profile, and pull out ratings from that portlet, even if you delete the forms, these ratings will stay in that portlet with the source saying from the form. So if you really want to purge all that, the only way is to completely purge the forms created with the template, not just delete them. So let's get started. I created this step by step here that I pinned, so it will always be visible. It takes, I think, yeah, 9 steps. So we're going to be in this recording for about probably 40 minutes or so. So the first step is to create a folder on your computer, on your desktop, named after the template you're about to create archives for. Inside this folder, create another one called attachments. So let's get started. I'm going to open here my desktop and then right click and I have a template, create a folder called 2012 performance reviews. Just make sure performance review, no S. Then inside this folder, create a new folder called attachments. Okay, that's it. We're done with step 1. Step 2 is to navigate to reporting, classic reporting, then create archives of performance forms. Make sure you unselect all in the groups filter and uncheck active users only. So let's get started. We're going to go to reporting, not recruiting. Then click on, so by default, you'll land on the report center. So you need to click on switch to classic view. And I think in 1H 2027, there's going to be some of these features here that may get deprecated, but I made sure with product management that the feature we're showing in this recording will not. I don't know if you'll still be able to access it from here. You might have to do a search for action to find it. And if you don't find it in search for action, you might have to make sure you turn it on. It's a checkbox in provisioning. And then you have to permission it through RBP. So let's click here, classic view, all reports by type, archive and print. And then you're going to go ahead and do create new. Okay, so once you land on this screen, this is where you need to be very careful and pay a lot of attention here. So this is step 2 still. And we're talking about make sure you unselect all in the groups filter and uncheck active users only. Okay, so the first thing is you're selecting your template. That goes without saying. So 2012 performance review. If your template is already inactive in the system, you flagged it in form template settings as inactive because you didn't want it to show in ad hoc reports and so on. It will still show in this screen. Then you don't touch anything here. You don't need to touch. Let's talk a little bit about customized display options. If you have special sections you would like to remove, you can do so here. Here we just want to back up everything that was created, so we're not going to touch any of this. Moving on, what is really important here is to keep it on select by groups and especially remove all of the groups here filter. As far as I know, you can't change these filters. It's these four by design. You can add more or delete them. So, and the reason I do this is because in my testing, I came across, I left it all checked initially, and I realized that I wasn't getting apples to apples between the number of forms in the system and what I was getting in the archive. And so, and I think the reason was because not all employees were in these groups. And so some employees were left out completely of some of the groups, whereas you would assume that every employee, as part of an implementation, has in the UDF a department, division, and a location that were synced from their EC data, from their EC profile. Usually these are standard HRIS syncs we build as part of an implementation. So most employees will have a location, division, department, even those who are um, inactive, currently inactive, but that got a PDF, that got a form created back in the days. So that leads me to my next comment. You really want to make sure you uncheck active employee only. Otherwise, you're not going to get in that zip archive with all the PDFs, you're not going to get anybody who's currently inactive. And you want those as well, because if you're going to back up for legal reasons, you need to have everybody. And then finally, the last one is multiple PDF archive. You want to check this. And don't do this because it will make things complicated when we build the file to import into the MDF afterwards. So it's best that you don't do this. Okay, and then all you got to do is create archive. Right now in the system, I have 950 forms created with this 2012 performance review. There will be a step when we'll compare that we got the same amount of PDFs than the forms in the system. So we'll get back to that in a little bit. But this is what we're expecting, and we're expecting zip files, system is going to create several because as soon as it reaches 20 megabytes per zip, it moves on to another zip. So we're expecting a certain number of zip files, probably around 10 or 11, with those 950 PDFs in them. So all you need to do is click on Create Archive. You can give it a name, or leave it like this. You can say all 2012 performance forms. Okay. Then you get a message that says it has been submitted, and you get a link that you want to click on called Archive in Print. Now, this is going to take about 5 minutes for 950 forms based on my previous testing to prepare this recording. So what I'm going to do is just pause the recording until this finishes generating, but I'm going to show you what happens basically is it's going to say started, and then it's going to, when you click refresh, you're going to see um, in a few seconds, once we click refresh, you're going to see it will create several lines because, like I said, every time so it's going to print all these PDFs of the forms with all the comments made and all the sections. But once it reaches 20 megabytes, it doesn't matter if it's with 90 PDFs or 130, it just moves on to a different zip file so that it doesn't create zip files that are bigger than 20 megabytes. So what you're going to get is many zip files, and we can see an example here. It created number 2, then it's going to create number 3, and so on. So as soon as I get to number 3, I'll pause the recording, and then I'll turn it back on when we have everything completed, marked as completed. So you can see number 3. And while we wait, I'm just going to show an example. So if I download, for example, this number 3, I get all these PDFs in it. For example, this one, I can see this is what it looks like when it's printed. So in this case, I just mass launch. There were no comments and ratings entered. I just mass launch from that template. But you can see the names, in the signature section. Wherever someone made a comment, it will show with the name of the person who made the comment. So you'll get everything. You'll even get like those admin only or manager only 9 box, and everything basically that was configured is going to show. So closing this here, and let's see what we got in terms of final generation. It should go until 9, so I'm actually not going to stop the recording. I'm just going to let it run. I think it's going to go in between 9 and 12 is my experience for 950 forms. So most companies will have more than 950 forms, I would think. So you can expect, a good amount of these zip files. But the good news is, I'm going to show later, once you download these files, I'm going to show how you can mass extract everything all in one within a few seconds using a Windows PowerShell command on a folder. We're at 8. So we're at the end of this. We're just between 2 and 3 right now. And then what we'll do is we'll click individually on each of these, make sure they get generated into our download, and then we'll move them from the downloaded files to, just going to delete here so I can do the full things, to a specific folder once we have them all there. And then I'm going to show how to extract them all from there. All right, so it's all completed. So you see 11 zip files for 950 performance forms. So what we got to do now is just manually, unfortunately, I wish you could do this and then download, but this is only to remove them. So, and also you need to, if you're going to do this, don't assume it will stay here forever. It definitely says it gets removed after 7 days. So if you're going to do this archiving work, you need to be, you need to be doing it and downloading everything as soon as or quickly after you generate these zip files. So now I'm going to click on each of them. And as soon as you click it, it creates a download on in your downloads here. So just click on them and wait until you see the downloads. So now what we're going to do is open the downloads. You can click here. And we're going to actually go to the desktop first before we go to downloads. And we're going to create a file called, a new folder called zips. And we're going to go back to our downloads and move all these these zips to, so cut and go to zips here on the desktop and paste. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to use, so you can either manually extract from each of the zip file, but like I said, if you have 10,000 performance forms for created with one template, it's going to take you several hours to do it. Maybe not several hours, but at least a good hour if you have like, 50 of these zip files. So the way I did it when I was preparing for this recording is I used this strategy. So the reason I put them all here into this folder is because I want to show you how you can use a Windows PowerShell command to quickly export everything into one folder. Also, in one command, we're going to say, okay, take all the zips in this file, put them all in a new folder called merge. So I think the most reliable way to do this is you're going to go and right-click your folder, and you're going to do copy as path. Okay. Now you're going to go to an AI solution. Doesn't matter. Every AI is going to be able to do it for you. Here I'm going to use public cloud. We have a way to um, we have access with SAP, but this is nothing SAP related. It's just a pure Windows command. And I'm just going to say I have many zip files in one folder on my desktop, and I'd like you to generate um, to export all of their content into a subfile into a subfolder named merged. Here is the path, so you can create a PowerShell command for me. Okay, so you just copy this. You need to give it the path like I did when you right click, and that's it. So you're just going to go and back to your folder, and you're going to open your folder, and then here in here you're going to type PowerShell. It's opening a command that's on my it was on my second monitor, and all you need to do is just paste again, enter again. Okay, and it looks like it's completed. Let's check. So we've got our merged here, and now we're going to do, and we can see how many items are in this folder, and it's only the PDFs that were grouped in the zip file, and we have a match with the number of forms that were generated with this template. Like I said in the beginning, was 950, which is what we expected, so that's great. So you'll see at the bottom of your folder how many items are in it. That's what you're looking at. And so it leads us to our next one, which is, so we just confirmed that we have 950 PDFs. Now we're going to go to this one. Compare that you got the same amounts of PDF in your extracted folder than forms in the system. How do you know how many forms were generated with this template? The easiest way is to go to delete form. So if these forms are they're still in the system, they haven't been deleted, that's what you're trying to get to so that you can purge them. So you get to go to form attributes and you select your form template, and the ones that are inactive will show here as well. And then you click OK and search, and that will tell you how many in here. You can see forms 950. So we've got a match apple to apple. This was number 4 here. And so now we're moving to number 5. Number 5 is how now we're moving on to, so we've got our backup. Now we're moving on to where we're going to upload these PDF backups. So to do that as a super admin, if you're not a super admin, you need to work with a super admin. You're going to go to configure object definitions and create new object definition. And you're going to call it archives performance of performance reviews. Then effective dating is going to be basic. Yes. API visibility we don't need. We're going to do it all manually. And then status active, label, you can keep the same or you can just clean it up a bit if you want to make it. Okay. Now moving on, this is the important part. Here, external code needs to be user of type user. External name you don't need, you can delete. And effective start date you need, you leave it like it is, as it is. And then here you're going to call it attachments. Okay. And select attachment as data type. And if you want, you can call it performance. Like you can give it a different name, but it's for the purpose of the demo. Just make sure it's called attachment here. Now you can move on and go to label and say performance review, performance document, for example, or just document. And done. Then you save it. And then you're going to need to be so we're here. I should have highlighted it. And then you're going to need to be as it says here, as permission it as an administrator so that you can actually see the outcome and import and export data into it. So you need to have access to permission. I'm a super admin in this, so if you don't have access to RBP, you need to work with someone with RBP access who knows which role you're in, which they can look up easily. Here I'm in the system admin role. I'm going to do edit, next, and search for archives. That's my new MDF. That's probably under miscellaneous, yeah. And then just do select all, select, next, save. Okay, now I have all the permissions I need to be able to view the records and also import and export data into it. So let's run into number 6. Number 6 is probably a little bit the tricky part. So in order to prepare your import file, you're going to need to run a report first. And so we're going to go to reporting and go back to report center. And then you're going to go create table. And if in the future this I think should stay, but in case, you need to come up with the same result than what I'm basically doing, but I think this is going to stay for a while now. Performance management, select. And just call it 2012 performance reviews. Then remove styling. I never know what to do with this one, but I guess I'll just leave it unchecked. Then people, you're going to do other filters and include inactive users. Make sure you have all employees in your scope. You need to do this as a super admin. And save. Then dataset, you're going to select 2012 performance reviews. Then column, you're going to need 3. The first one needs to be the subject user ID. The second one needs to be the form title. And the third one needs to be the document ID. And that's all you need. Okay. Done. Save. Generate. CSV. Now, we're going to, oh, I have 2 here for this one. Interesting. I might have to add a filter, I think, to only keep, yeah, I think we're going to need a filter here. Filter on status completed. Yeah, I think it's going to be better. Yep, this is what we need. Okay, so we're going to download it as a CSV. And what we're going to do is actually not open it straight from here. And the reason for that is because you may have a lot of people with special characters in their name. For example, here O'Connor apostrophe, but also different languages have all kinds of characters specific to them. And you don't want, if you open it straight from here, you might run into an issue where it's going to not keep those special characters. So the proper way to do this is once you have that report, you're going to go to Excel and you're going to make sure you have an option here called, so you go to options in your Excel and you just want to make sure that in data, you have in show legacy data import wizards, you see from text legacy here. This is the easiest way to do this. So check this, then save, make sure you save OK. And then you keep it checked on A1 and you go to data, get data from legacy wizards from text. And you're going to open that downloaded report, this one, the second one we downloaded. And here you're going to select UTF-8. This is the whole point of doing this so that we don't remove any special characters. UTF-8 Unicode. My data has headers. You don't need this. Just do next and then just comma. And if you're generating this report from Europe or other countries, you might have to select semicolons in terms of comma. Depends. I am pretty sure this is a valid comment. Then just finish. And then, yeah, put in A1. And there you go. You've got all you need here. You should have 950 or 951. Let's see. Yeah, 950. Perfect. So we've got apples to apples here in this report with what we're expecting. Actually, if I delete this, it's going to be 949. So there might be one, and it might be Alexander Ruid. Let's see. Oh no, he's here. Okay, so I'll have to look up why there's one gap in this report here. Interesting. Anyway, so we've got 99.9 of the PDFs. I'll try to figure out which one is missing, and maybe put it in my blog later and explain why there was one missing in this report. Because we saw that the PDF archive created matched the number of forms, so we're good there. But now we need this to be able to prepare the import file to the MDF. Okay, so next step we need to do is to basically we need to connect the title of the form to the ID of the form, and we need to connect it in a very special way, which matches with the format used in the name that was given to the PDF. So if you go to desktop here and zips and merged, you have all your PDFs, and you see how it's the performance title hyphen and then the document ID. We need to get to that, and we need to also add the PDF extension. So going back to my report here. So what you're going to do is simply just do insert, and then here you're going to do apostrophe and then hyphen, like this, and just copy down all the way. And then you're going to also do here, you're going to do dot PDF and then copy it all the way down. And now in this last one, you're going to do equal, concatenate, text 1, text 2, text 3, text 4, close parentheses. And now you got exactly what you need to import with the user ID in the beginning. And so you're just going to do this, right? And then copy and paste. And then you can delete everything else. Got everything you need. You've got the key information here. Um, you're going to do one last thing, which is you're going to insert a column, and you're going to put in it, you're going to turn it into, so this cell here, I'm going to turn it into um, text. And now I'm going to say it's the 2012, so it's going to be 01/01/2012. That's going to be eventually the effective date of the record that I want to create. And so I'm going to copy all the way down. So I take from the very last one, I press shift on my keyboard and I go up, shift and then up. I paste it. So they all have the same start date in this of type text. That's how you're going to need it. And then the last thing is you're going to so this is going to be the next step. We run the report and we're going to zip everything together. So you're going to put these data you got from the report into the proper MDF object import file, as well as the other documents. So we're moving into to number 7. So number 7 starts with once you keep these open, and then you're going to go to import and export. It's pretty straightforward. Import and export. Then you're going to do download template. select archives of performance reviews, click download. So this is step 7 here. Click download and open the zip. You're going to take all these 3 files and say extract all to the one you created in the very beginning in step 1. So you double check, or you just select it and say select folder, and that's it. Extract, and then we can see we have them in here. Now what you're going to do is just simply, now that they're on your local drive, you're going to simply take them from here and open this one, and then you're going to paste the content of your report into your book one, into columns, those columns that we saw. So again, it's just Excel wasn't really, I'm just gonna maybe unpin this and go to the bottom here, and then press Shift, go all the way to the top, copy, and then paste. Perfect. You don't need to do anything for the other one here. You leave it blank, or you can even remove it. It doesn't have an impact. And now you close this, and you close the report as well. You may want to keep a copy of it. I don't know. Okay. Then the last thing will be so now you have the index to import the zip. Now you need to have all the attachments, the PDF. So remember that zip file we created where we export everything? You need to take them all here, copy, or you cut them, it's the same, and then you put them all into attachments. Then the last step will be, as part of this step 7, the last step will be to zip everything together, and then so we can import it into the MDF object. All right. So now I go back to desktop, and I take these 4 items here, and I do right click, compress to zip file. And I'm going to call this archives of performance reviews. The name doesn't matter really. It's really what's inside. You really need to have these 4 files inside with everything perfectly entered. And now this is the zip file that I'm going to import into SuccessFactors. So that's going to be step 8, import zip to MDF object. So we go here, we go to we still need to be in import and export data, but this time we want to import the data. Actually, do the import, and we're going to select archive of performance reviews, and we're going to choose file. Oh, sorry, we got to go to zip file here. Choose file, and then go to 2012 performance review and select this zip file, which is 200. Yeah, it's pretty big, but it worked yesterday when I tested it, so let's give it a go. It's going to take a little bit. You need to have a good internet connection, and if this doesn't work, then because you get a timeout error or something when you try to upload it, you may want to split your PDFs into several files, basically. That would be your only option here. There's another way to import these PDFs to standard portlets of employee profile, but it uses an SFTP method, which requires, that you create a specific file, then you create a provisioning background job that will pick up these files and import them. So it's not as easy as what I'm doing here, which is simply just MDF and import and export data. But I'll share the link to this other way of importing data instead of MDF to put the data and those PDFs into the standard portlet. There's all the steps are explained there. Let's hope that our upload works. So we're here, import zip to MDF object. And then after we're done here, we're going to show how to purge legacy forms and worksheets from performance module. I have a blog about this that has a presentation that explains how to do this in data retention and time management, I think is the full name of the RTM. So I'll share the blog. We'll try to do it in step 9. To be honest, I didn't spend most of my time testing that. I've done it before, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be quick. The bulk of the recording is to show how you can use archive and print and also import it into this MDF object. That's really the main idea here. And purging is always a little faster. So what you need to know about purging using DRTM is that there's no way back. Once you have purged forms, you can't ever get them back. Um, but that's why we do it, so that all that data into these forms get purged wherever it's been published, so including in those employee profile portlets, as explained in the beginning. I wish there was a way where it says how many megabytes have been already loaded, but it doesn't, so you just gotta wait. Okay, it got submitted. So now it's going to import it and tell you the view results. So you want to click on view results and wait until you see. So I don't know what the limit is for the size limit for PDF uploads to MDF, but I'll try to find out and put it in the blog. So I just want to wait until I see these are old jobs. So we're expecting a job like this, but with the timestamp of now. These are old jobs from yesterday, so I'm hoping I'm going to see one that says in progress. It's still in upcoming jobs. So I guess here, so I think it's probably going to take some time until this shows, until Job Monitor. Depends on the server and other things. So I don't know. I'll pause the recording, but before I pause it, I just wanted to show you um, like the type of job that, so if everything works fine, so you should always, once you see the job as completed, you should always click on view details. So this is an old job that I got earlier when I tested with one PDF and one person. And so you click on download status and then you get a CSV. And then you really want to open it to see, it will tell you how many records, how many failed, how many are succeeded. So here we'd expect 950 or 49 actually, because I think there was maybe a mismatch between, there was one person missing from that report we ran for some reason. So, and then if you have the ones that fail, it should tell you somewhere in the last column, it should tell you what the reason is. And so you can troubleshoot those and just do a delta upload of those. Let's see if by chance it's been picked up. No, still no. So yeah, so this is how it goes. And so once you have this data imported, you're going to see it in the MDF object. So I'll pause until I see it show as in progress. And as soon as it says in progress, it's going to start loading them, and we can see an example. I just don't know how long it's going to take here to for the server to pick up this job and process it. So I'm just going to pause, and then as soon as I see it refresh and say started, I'll turn on the recording again. Okay, so a few minutes later, maybe 5, 7 minutes later, it's something common on our demo environments here. So it started processing it. So as soon as so I'm going to refresh and show that it's in progress. So as soon as it says in progress, unless everything is failing, which I tested before, so hoping it won't, you should start seeing the data come into your object. So you can go to here to archive, manage data, archives of performance form, and you should be able to see, well, not yet, I guess. Let's see. No, let's give it maybe a little bit more time. Schedule job manager. Maybe it's indexing the files and the PDFs before actually processing the records. So I'll pause again, and we'll look at the outcome once it says completed. Okay, so our job just finished completed, and so as mentioned before, we really want to look at the logs to see if some of them may have failed. So we're going to do download status and then open the zip file and open the CSV, which is named just like the one we imported. And so it's telling us basically that we had some, if you remember, I was trying to, I advised to open the file with UTF-8, and it looked like what we loaded um, was not did not respect some of the special characters. So we had an issue where maybe when we opened that report, ad hoc report, some special characters got lost. And so that's why this is an example of why you got to be very careful when handling people with special characters. So what you would do here is you would just do a second batch where you fix this and just upload the delta, and that's it. And then so let's go and see in the system what it looks like now. So if you go to, you close this and you go to manage data and you look for archives of performance reviews, you can see everybody here. Everybody else got imported. And you can see on the record as we define it with the name to the document. And if you click, it just downloads it in your. And so these MDF objects can be made, can be, can be accessed, can be permissioned only to some people to see. So it's really easy. If you have any legal issue with someone and you need a form from 10 years ago, you just come here, you put their name in, and if they're inactive currently, you just do yes, and then you find them and you find their document. Now let's talk about the last step, which is why we're doing all this. This is to purge the forms that were created with this template. So to do that, still as a super admin, you're going to go to data retention management, and you're going to do manual data purge and then create a new purge request. Actually, this might be the way to go to purge all the data and the worksheets first. Let's see. We're going to change it here to say 2012 performance review. And it might be easier to form template selected can be filtered by document ID. All document must be of the same. Yeah, so you can either run a report with all the document IDs. So in that case, for example, you could have um, I think the RTM should work as long as you have the way I did it previously, as long as you have all the right filters, or you can do a report. Let's do it this way. You can do a report here where you're going to say, just like we did earlier, table, select, single domain, performance management, select, and you're going to say 2012 doc ID 2012 perf. Performance reviews, and column is going to be subject user ID and then the doc ID. That's all we need. Save and generate. And this go since we don't have any filter, it's going to take really all the document ID that were generated with this template. And that's all we need. We can delete here, save. I think it was called doc ID in the example I downloaded earlier. And then we're going to try this. Doc ID. Okay, let's try this. Okay, and launch immediately. And then we're going to proxy as the approver to do exactly what we did earlier. Purge request monitor. And then monitor. It's taking longer than earlier, so that's good. So what we expect once, if it works as we expect, is that you're not going to be able to find any forms created with a 2012 performance review once you search for delete form or even restore deleted forms. That's the expectation. So I'm going to pause the recording again so until it finishes running. Okay, finish running. So now let's check the report. Number of successful records affected, number of filtered record affected, 2582. So yeah, because I took all the doc IDs, so including those of previous forms that were deleted as part of testing that I did. And so that's why. So let's do our final test, which is now, so we have all the PDFs saved in that MDF object except for the few errors with special characters that we saw. So we created the backup and now we want to make sure that there are no forms anymore. And so we're going to delete form. I need to go back as myself. Yep. And as you can see, when you use, you select form template here, you do search, and there's no search, no form that shows. I'm going to use the old user experience too because it makes it easier to just visualize from one screen. Search. Before we did the purge, we would have had 950 documents here. I think we actually did it at the beginning of the recording. And even if you do restore deleted forms, there also are no forms to be found with this template. So you've deleted all the templates permanently and the data is forever gone. But you have the backup, so you're good. And now it's removed all from everything in Outlook reports. Okay, interesting. There's some that didn't get, I think it matches with the number of errors. So you need to figure out why these haven't been deleted. Maybe they didn't show up in my report from Outlook report and I need to check what happened there. Let me see. 1151 was that even in my list? Maybe not. Um, could be a leading zero issue as well. Yeah, no, it was in here, so I'll have to figure out what happened there. But you really want to make sure that you purge all these. So when I found out why it didn't get caught through the error message, maybe in the logs, then I'll update on the blog. But I think we can conclude the recording here. We showed all the steps end to end on how to create backups that you load in MDFs, PDF backups, and then how to fully delete the data from your system. Thank you very much. Bye bye.